Welcome to another what? My wife already thinks I've got another woman out in this workshop because I spend so much time here. I'm going to add another to my harem. I name thee Tangerine Tiger. That's a waste of a good packet of crisps, isn't it? Yes. I was stupid enough to buy another one. I've just about got enough room to turn around in this workshop now. With 1, 2, 3, 4 laser machines in here. How much trouble does a man need? 4 laser machines and a wife? Well, I suppose I better explain myself. First of all, this is not going to be an RD Works Learning Lab session. I'm going to rename this series Tangerine Tiger. You can see why. Yeah, it's a vile colour, but hey, I paid less for this than I did for my China blue machine when I bought that nearly 5 or 6 years ago. I'm losing track of time now. I have to say this is more or less exactly the same as my previous one. Things have not changed very much at all. In some ways, there are little bits of this where the quality is better. It looks nice and clean. Everything's black as opposed to gold as it was. But look at this table. I mean, it's made of paper, aluminium paper. Yeah, there isn't much flatness in that table. I'm planning to upgrade this machine with all the sort of goodies that I've put onto the China blue machine and take it into another universe. This adventure is probably going to be a lot shorter because I haven't got to learn quite so much about the laser technology. There are parts of it that I have got to learn about, so don't get worried. There's going to be quite a few in this series. But again, a bit like the fibre laser, this is going to be a little bit niche. Although this machine at about £1,000 is cheap, what I'm going to add to it is not cheap. Seems silly to waste these, doesn't it? Oh my goodness me. They're not chips, they're crumbs. I mean, you can't eat these one at a time any longer. You really need a shovel. So, what's the plan? Well, apart from fixing that door, because if you push it over that way, it doesn't close. If you pull it over this way, it works fine. Now, I got exactly what I was expecting when I opened this lid. Let's take the lid off so that we can see what's going on. Now, there are a couple of things I'd like you to make a note of. First of all, this tube. It's exactly what I expected to find in here. A piece of junk. The company here, KH Laser, look as though they make this tube. They've put their label on it, but it wasn't made by KH Laser because KH does not exist as a laser tube producer. It says on here, manufactured by Shandong Keihui Laser Equipment Company Limited. Wrong. It really ought to say labelled by and tested by. Poorly tested by. Because, first of all, this claims to be a 50-watt tube. Now, that's absolute rubbish because it's 50mm diameter. Oh, it's actually not. Oh, it's 54. Normally, if you'd get this at 50mm diameter and 800mm long, which is what this is, 800mm long, this would be an absolute certain 40-watt tube. The fact that it is slightly bigger than 50, but still the same length, still makes it a 40-watt tube. Now, it says 50 watts peak power on here, and agreement power 49 watts. Why would it be 49 watts? Peak power is normally at least 10% more than the agreement power. They don't tell you what the current is to run this at. This tube will be a reject, a B grade reject that has not made the quality grade at a normal manufacturer. Keihui have come along, tested these tubes, make sure they work, enough to fool you, but not me, into thinking that it's a good tube. It might be nearly okay, or it might be nearly junk. Who can say? The fact that it hasn't got metal ends on it is a good indication that this is already a cheap tube before you start. When you open one of these machines up, don't expect to get a good quality tube. This was bought for peanuts and sold to you for a profit. So when you buy one of these machines, it will sort of work, but to get performance out of this machine, you'll need to replace this with a proper A grade tube. But the power supply may also be a B grade power supply. It may well be that it has got a poor response time, and that failed the response time performance, which should be 90% of the demand power in less than 1 millisecond. Well, it's only got to be 1.5 milliseconds and it fails. And these guys come along and scoop them up for next to nothing and fit them into these machines. But if you go into that with your eyes open, as I did, then you're not going to be disappointed. If you buy the machine cheap enough, you can afford to spend another £200 or £300 on getting a decent tube, and then you finish up with a half decent machine. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is to take this tube out of here. Oh my goodness me, I've just spotted. Look, we've got a 12 volt cable here, which it might even be 6 volt, that goes up to the LED strip along the back there. It's taped in with the earth wire that comes back from the cathode, and all of these wires run down beside the HV cable. We've got a fantastic induction coil. I mean, it's just unbelievable some of the things that they get up to. Now we've got these tubes here, which if you leave them as is, look, this has got a great big kink in it. Absolutely diabolical thing is, look, they've put the outlet here at 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, horizontal. Air does not find the median point. That outlet should be sitting at 12 o'clock, and so the air in this tube will automatically flow up and go out and be purged out. The air will not be purged out of here. It looks as though they put lime juice in here. I don't know what this is, but good job. I'm actually not going to be using this tube. It looks as though they may well have nicked one of my ideas from a long time ago, because they have this tube and this mirror mounted on this back plate, this single plane. But one thing that you will notice, it's adjustable back and forward, so that you can get the mirror number 1 lined up with mirror number 2. So perhaps somebody has been watching my videos in China and they've decided that, yeah, fixing mirror 1 relative to the tube is a good idea. Although I've been able to get China Blue running nice and fast, the problem is I can't exploit it really to its fullest extent, because I've also understood that I cannot get high speed photo engraving from it, because the response time from the power supply itself to produce single dots is just not capable. Hence the reason why I bought this machine as another development machine. And what we're planning to do, we're going into the Trotec, Epilogue and Universal Orchard to pinch some of their apples. This is a 30 watt RF laser, and I'm going to strap that into here and turn this into a rocket of some sort. So you're going to follow me into a new adventure on laser machines. I haven't got a clue how these things work or how they actually perform. Now we shall find out. And we shall find out not via menus, which is the way that the big companies operate. They don't allow you to see what's really going on. They don't explain what's really going on. They just tell you to press various buttons and choose various menus to suit various applications and materials. No, you know that's not my style. I want to know how this thing works. I want to know how it performs with different materials and why. So, I hope you'll join me in this new adventure with my beloved Tangerine Tiger. So, welcome to the new woman in my life. and I hope you're going to come along with me and watch how we transform this from ordinary to extraordinary. Well, I think while we've got the back off the machine, we may as well make a pretty radical start and take the tube out. Let's not bother to unwrap that, should we? Let's just snip that. And we'll snip this, as we're not going to be using this tube. We'll snip that off there. A good quality long life tube will have a nice pink looking hue to what they call the ionisation tube in the centre. Yeah, there's no pink in there, so this is definitely a cheap short life tube. And there we go. Now we can see the wood for the trees. And there we go, we can open up the lid and see what's inside there. The good news is that it's got a half decent solid coupling on here. Not one of these silly flexible wind-up couplings. It's quite a stiff mounting bracket on the back here. That's good. Pulleys are not stupidly small, they're not large, but they're okay. So we're not going to get any curtains from these, but we certainly might get curtains from pulleys that small on the X drive, but we're going to sort that out. Now this is really poor practice, this. Look, they're using this sensor as a means of stopping when it gets to within a certain distance. But if you drive this Y-axis fast enough, it will smack straight into here before it has a chance to stop. The inertia of this thing will take it past. So this really ought to be mounted the other way so that it's detecting underneath here somewhere. So we're going to have to fix that at some stage before we actually use this machine properly. Generally speaking, I have to say, apart from these little criticisms, it's not bad. The quality of the work on here, it's pretty good. One thing that is a bit of a disaster are these two screws here, which are the belt tensioning screws for the X-axis. There is nowhere. First of all, these are cap edge screws with an Allen key. You cannot physically get in there anywhere to adjust the tension on the belt. At some point I'm going to have to put a hole in the sidewall here so that I can get access with an Allen key to tension this belt up. But on the other hand, it does show you that this whole assembly here has been pre-assembled before it's been dropped into the machine. The height of this mirror here, which is mirror number 2, the centre of that mirror has actually got to be the defining point where I'm going to have to set the centre of mirror number 1. Right, well, we're going to have to measure, we're going to have to use this rail here as a reference, because we can measure from here to somewhere here, anywhere, it doesn't matter where we measure to, but once we determine where the centre of that mirror is relative to this rail, we've got the problem solved. Well, the height of that platform to the rail, 40.7. So the mirror is 46 square, but it's off the deck 49. That's about right. So there's about a 3mm gap under there. So half of 46 is 23, plus the 3 is 26, is plus the 41. So centre height is about 67 above the rail. And what I can do now, just make sure I've got my zero set properly. So the top of that bracket is 16 above the rail. Okay, so there's our scenario now. We've got the centre of the mirror 67 above the rail, and we've got the top surface of that bracket 16mm above the rail. So therefore, the centre of the mirror has got to be 51 above that bracket, but give or take a little bit roughly. That's 28mm, 22, which is 7/8. Okay, so we've got to mount this unit 22mm above the base, and that's it. Oh, that's going to fit in there wonderfully well, isn't it? If I put the stiffeners underneath this tray, I can put some pillars up onto these fixings here, and this whole thing will sit up in the air and I should get plenty of air around it. Then we'll have lots of air holes in the cover. So the other thing that we've got to fit in here is a 48 volt power supply, and look at that. This is absolutely perfect, isn't it? But before we try and fit all this lot in, I'm going to cut away the side of the machine so that I can get access to the stepper motor. Well, that's a quick overview of the adventure. Next time we'll start cutting holes in the end panel, turning the belt over, making a mirror too, and then we'll start looking at the head. We can fairly quickly bash this machine into mechanical shape, much the same as my China Blue machine. And then we can start playing with the actual laser unit itself. So all exciting times. I hope you're going to come along and join me in this adventure, because I'm getting quite excited about it. But I'm not forgetting the fact that A, I've still got lots more fibre laser stuff to do, and B, I've still got quite a bit to do with the laser technology itself, especially long focus compound lenses. So until one of the sessions, thanks for your time and I'll see you.